Well, in Zegland, there's a guy who gets lost in the shuffle maybe on the national scale, but Zeg fans know all about him. And the last two nights, we really got to see Joel Ayayi come out with Jalen Suggs down with that lower leg injury for a couple games. And we knew if Joel Ayayi needed to come out and be the guy, put on a show, he can. Mm-hmm. He finally did. I mean, he gets lost in the shuffle with Jalen, Kispert, Timmy. He's such an unselfish player. But boy, was it good to see him come out and showcase his skill set the last two nights.
Oh, dude, it was great to see. For me, what I loved is we've talked about it a lot this season, how, Joel has just been in a shooting slump this year. And you could tell it was definitely mental. His release, his load up, things just looked a little bit different because as a shooter, when you are thinking about your jump shot, it is completely different. And the last two nights, we've seen Ayai get back to not thinking. There's no hesitation anymore, and his jump shot is tremendously smoother, and it has paid off. I think he shot, 7 of 9, I believe,
last two nights.
Over the last 2 nights. Raised his three-point percentage from 16 to 37% in the span of 2 games. This season, he's done everything that Joel Ayayi does. Defensively, rebounding the basketball, his assists, he's done it all. What he hasn't done this year is his shooting, and now that he's brought that back, this team gets even deadlier.
He's the best rebounding guard in college basketball.
No question.
I know that for a fact. He had a nice game versus West Virginia. He scored 21, again, in a game where Suggs went down. I think it's all confidence, and I think it's one of those things where he knew going into the game that Jalen wouldn't be on the floor. And so when the ball comes his way and he knows he needs to be more of a scoring option, he is. And I think that the reason you saw kind of a flawed jump shot earlier in the season is that when the ball came his way, he wasn't looking to score. And it was kind of one of those things where if you're a shooter and you're not catching it in stride, putting it up in a smooth motion, it's not going to go down. And when Jalen's on the floor and Corey's on the floor, he was not looking to be that option.
Sure.
It's very similar to Andrew Nembhard, where when Jalen went down versus West Virginia and we saw Nembhard come out, attack the basket, we said, boy, if he can do this now moving forward and have that confidence, how big is that for GU? Well, if Joel Ayayi is shooting plus 40% from 3 the rest of the season, it's over. You can't guard Suggs, Kispert, deal with Timmy down low if he's going to shoot at that clip.
Yeah, no, that would just further separate this Gonzaga offense from the rest of the country, which is hard to do, And you talked about it, and it was a great point how, he was not really looking to be a scorer, and that obviously affects things. But, that's kind of a two-sided coin. On a team like this, you love to see guys who want to play within the system. They're not going out of their way to be a stop in the ball movement. But at the same time, you have to be ready to take your chances. So I think when you have a team that's this deep and this talented, it just takes a little bit longer for everybody to find that groove and the chemistry to be their most productive selves. And we're really seeing that come together. Obviously, we knew going through WCC play that would be the time for them to really kind of finish their chemistry and putting everything together for this team. And it looks to be happening sooner rather than later. I mean, we're talking now, we've said it so many times, man, this guy has been an NBA talent since he enrolled at Gonzaga. And he enrolled at, 16 years old, I believe. So to say somebody's been an NBA talent for that long is truly impressive. And a tip of the cap to him for the work he's put in. He has bettered himself every single year in this program. And, now we're talking again is 4 first-round talents on this Gonzaga team. It's easy to get lost in a shuffle, and that's exactly what's happened this year. But, by the end of the year, I think we're going to be talking a little bit different tune.
Yeah, well, if he shoots plus 40% from 3, that's going to really help Gonzaga this year. As a Zags fan, it's kind of a double-edged sword because it'll most likely be the last season you see Joel Ayayi in a Zags uniform because he rebounds so well. He's such a high IQ player, plays good defense, can do so many things well. The only real criticism coming out of scouts is that he hasn't been a consistent shooter. And if he can shoot 40% plus from 3, he's going to be a late lottery top 20 pick. And so, you could have 4 legitimate picks. However, you hear rumblings out of GU that just He loves being a Bulldog. He really enjoys the college experience. When you come somewhere at 16 years old, it becomes a family. And
Absolutely.
what you wonder is if what Corey Kispert is doing right now, Corey could have been drafted probably in the second round of last year's NBA draft. He decided to come back to GU. Corey loves being a Bulldog. He knew there was a special team waiting for him, and he knew he could showcase his talents. Do you think that what Corey's been able to do this season shows Joel, hey, if you come back next year, you could be showcased, maybe cement yourself in those top 15 picks?
Yeah, I think it definitely helps, and I mean, it helps too with just the program that Gonzaga is. A lot of guys will put their name in the draft, they'll come back to school, and they just don't really get that opportunity to, kind of be the dude and showcase themselves for the league. And I think it's a huge plus to see, somebody you look up to as Corey Kispert come back, put in the extra work, and improve their draft stock. That helps a ton. But knowing as well that when you come back to Gonzaga as an established player, I mean, Mark Few's going to make you a staple in his rotation and in his offense. And I think that's exactly what's waiting for Joel. So it really comes down to, obviously, how does he finish this year? Where does he end on those boards? I would 100% expect him to enter his name into the draft at the end of this year, and at the very least receive that same feedback. But if he comes back next year, man, I think it's pretty safe to say we're immediately looking at one of the best guards in the country.
Well, I'll tell you what else changes a lot of things. If you hang a banner and win a national championship, you've got to ask yourself, what do guys have left to chase? Corey knew coming back his senior year, they would be most likely the preseason number one team in the country, have a very legitimate chance to win a national championship. If the Zags get that this year, you got to question how many guys will want to come back for what reason. And so I think that's another double-edged sword. But Joel Ayayi, the secret's out.
Absolutely,
he is a stud on this Gonzaga team. As a GU fan, I still get a little rattled watching a game on KHQ, Root Sports, and flipping over to Sports Center and then immediately saying, hey, we've got highlights from number one Gonzaga out of the kennel. Because I remember days where we were the number one team in the country and we couldn't even get a highlight on Sports Center. And
be on the ticker on the bottom.
I'm watching it last night, and I'll tell you what, I am the head of the Joel Ayayi fan club. I've been high on this kid for many years, a guy I would want on any team.
I think anybody in the country wants him on their team.
But I'm watching the highlights last night, and they're showing him going off, and I'm like, wait, don't show that. Keep it quiet. But I'll tell you what, the secret's out, and he's going to be a big part of this team. And I really do believe that Joel Ayayi is a guy that we're going to watch have a very long NBA career. He's going to come out at 21 years old, maybe 20 if he comes out this season. And you look how far he's come in his years at GU. I think about where he can be at 25, 26 years old.
It's a scary thought.
I mean, how can he contribute in the NBA game today right away?
I mean, defense and rebounding right away. You talk about that. I mean, he has elite speed from baseline to baseline on the court. As you said, he's the best rebounding guard in the country. And his defense is, I think it's just undervalued. Even though Gonzaga values his defense a lot, I still think it's undervalued. To have a guard with his length, his ability to bring the ball up the court, distribute the basketball to teammates, and then we're talking about adding in shooting to that. I mean, he's got the talent, man. He's so versatile. He can be a staple in the NBA. But right away, it's his defense and rebounding. That's what gets you on the court. For a lot of rookies, you're not expected to come in and score 15 points a game. If you're not a top 5 pick, that's not expected of you. You're expected to come in and do the little things that help an NBA team win. And he can do all of those little things. I mean, I am not the first one to say this. If you were part of Gonzaga Twitter, it is an echo chamber. Joel Ayayi will put up a triple-double this year. It's a matter of which game is it going to happen. And, I mean, it's just, you look at his games, man, he's had so many that are so close. And that's exactly what NBA scouts look at, is that this is not a guy who he's going to go to the league, and if his shot's off, he's not able to play. That's not what you're looking at with this guy. It's just somebody who can fill up the stat sheet in every single category. And if you're that second or third point guard off the bench, and you're getting a few minutes a game, that's exactly what they want out of you. Control the other team's offense, don't let a run happen, and just be that kind of soothing presence on the court for your team, and that is exactly what Joel Ayayi does.
Well, I know we all want to get 2020 over with and fast forward a little bit with everything going on in the world, but Zeg fans, slow down, enjoy it while you've got it, having just the treat of watching guys like Jalen Suggs, Corey Kispert, Drew Timme, and Joel Ayayi that I think are going to have long, long careers way after their days in Spokane. It is a true treat for Zeg fans.